Hey y'all, welcome to the Honesty Circle, the safe space to discuss growing in adulthood, mental health, faith, and all the things in between. It's your host, Sierra Elise, and I hope you're taking care of not only your mental and spiritual, but your emotional and physical health so you can be your best self this week. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. This is a solo episode, so I'm actually kind of nervous doing a video solo, but here we are. I have my lovely co-host next to me, Zeke, so if he starts to get in the way, then you'll know why I have to stop the video and recording. But anyways, this week on the Honesty Circle, we'll be talking about loneliness, and I kind of want to start about kind of the time of year, why I want to talk about this. You know, it's starting to get cold. You know, it's that time of year where people start doing coupley things, but also that time of the year where you also start staying inside a little bit more. So maybe you're seeing your friends a little bit less. Vacations are not looking the exact same. Say if you're not as close with your family, maybe you're spending the holidays solo. And so I just kind of want to talk more about like loneliness and how we can sit with loneliness some more and what we can do to make sure that when that loneliness arrives, that we're making healthy habits. Because I know in the past, and I sometimes still do, don't make the healthiest habits when I'm lonely. Like when I'm lonely, when I was single, it's okay, hit up every person I used to talk to, even though I shouldn't be talking to them, I don't want to talk to them anymore. Or even now, when I feel lonely, I might shop or spend more money than I need to. So like there's just certain habits for me, and I know I'm probably not alone in this, that I'm doing not the best habits when I'm lonely. So like I want to just talk about that and how we can be healthier in our loneliness, so that way we can just be better people all around, especially right now in this time, as kind of like that as seasonal depression cards coming around and things like that. So basically, first, I want to tell you that we all know there's a difference between being alone and lonely, but I think it's important to know what that looks like for you, because not everyone's loneliness or derives from the same things, or not everyone's being alone looks the same. Someone else's being alone could be someone else's loneliness and vice versa. So it's really important to know what that looks like for you, but also know that it's situational. Know that this time I might actually feel lonely, and the next time I might just choose to be alone. I know for me, this past weekend, I did literally nothing. I did not see a single human outside of going to the store. I mean, I did go to a few stores, but I didn't like interact with any human on a like social that was like a friend or anything like that outside of like talking on the phone. It was me and Zeke in the house. Either we was running errands, we were outside walking, or we were inside like just chilling, watching TV. And I chose that. I chose that because I have been very busy for the past long time, and I wanted a day that I just did not have to do anything, not a single thing that I have to do. And I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to interact with anybody. Because if I wanted to, I could have, right? Like I could have reached out to people to see like, hey, are you free? Do you want to do something? Want to come over? Like I could have done all these different things, but I didn't because I wanted to be alone. So that's me. For me, I chose that. I was alone. Now, another weekend where it's a Friday night and I'm going to bed at 8:30 because I'm sad because I'm alone. Now that's loneliness, right? Like there have been times where, especially on travel season, oh my gosh, like when I'm on travel, I definitely that loneliness inches up a little bit more, because a lot of times I see people who are my friends and different people, and they're hanging out and they're able to do that, but I'm actually not able to do that. Like I can go out and go on a walk. I can go out to a restaurant, go to a bar. I can do those things by myself, but I actually want to do it with somebody else. And so it's different than when you're choosing to do it alone and you're forced to do it alone. And I think for me, that's how I defined the difference between like loneliness and alone. And even sometimes when I'm forced to be alone, doesn't mean I'm always going to feel lonely. So that's why I say it's really important to know what that looks like for you, because it looks different. Like it is situational. And even if the situation might be the same, like maybe another weekend where I choose not to do anything, but maybe I started to feel lonely. Like this weekend, I didn't feel lonely at all. Trust me, I was actually quite happy to do nothing. But there's been other weekends where I said I wanted to be alone, and I am alone, and I'm like, all right, let's find some people to talk to, or let's find someone to hang out with. Like, go outside, go do something. All right, see. But yeah, so I think that's just like an important part to mention. Like, we just have to define it for yourself, and I can't define it for you. Like I said, what might work for you and what might be loneliness for you might not be lonely for me, and vice versa. So make sure we're defining what that is for you, and like, don't let someone else like tell you that you're lonely when you're not. Especially, I think when you're single, like, people will be like, "Oh, you're lonely." Like, no, I'm not. I'm actually fine. I choosing this life for myself, and yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. Another part too is that it actually doesn't matter if you are an introvert or an extrovert. I'm an extrovert, so I think sometimes when I'm alone, it feels like loneliness when it might not to somebody else who may be an introvert. But then sometimes it's fine. Like, sometimes I want solace by myself. And so that kind of goes against being an extrovert. And same for introverts. Like, don't beat yourself up because you've called yourself an introvert and you're longing to have someone to hang out with. That doesn't change you from being an introvert. And also that doesn't diminish you feeling lonely. And so I think that's important to know, like, being lonely has no like set parameters and like you have to be this. Also, you can feel that if you're single or in a relationship. I'm in a relationship, and there's times when I still feel lonely because sometimes even if I can't hang out with that person, even if I can hang out with that person, like, that's not what I'm longing for. And so although that's an open avenue, that's not my initial want or whatever. So, or maybe they're busy, and so like you got to sit with being by yourself. So just keep that in mind that, like I said, it has no parameters. It's not introvert versus extrovert. It's not, oh, I'm single, so I'm lonely, or I'm in a relationship, so I'm not lonely. I think that's something that we don't talk about enough too. Like, you can be in a relationship and still feel lonely. And especially if you guys don't live together, or especially if you're long distance, or especially if they're busy off different schedules. Like, just because you are those things doesn't make you not lonely or not allow those feelings to arise. And so I know for me, I really learned to sit with my loneliness, or sit with being alone in loneliness more when it kind of started in college a little bit, I would say. But it's still in college, even if like my friends are in class and I gotta go eat by myself, or it's a break. And I know when I was like a manager, everyone's gone and I still have to stay an extra day because we have practice, or I gotta come back because of practice and things like that. So I kind of started it around then, but it really didn't hit until after graduation. So that's why I think like adulthood can be so isolating, and I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill that adulting can be isolating, especially if you're establishing yourself in a different city, in a different circle. Like, even if you are still in the same city and where you graduated, people are leaving. And so what used to be your immediate group or a circle, if they all decided to travel elsewhere, you could be exactly where you were and still feel lonely. And so I just think that it's hard. And like I said, it really started after college for me. So when I moved to Charlotte, like I said, I was in a relationship. I'm still in a relationship, but we were doing medium distance. So he was about an hour, 30 minutes away. And so and he also had friends, and that's a good thing to note. Like, it forced me to occupy my time, because not only are we medium distance where I can't see you every day, but also when I'm off work and want to, talk on the phone or whatever, you're busy, you're hanging out with your friends. And I think I've formed a tad bit of what's the word? I can't think of the word. Like mad, like when you're mad at somebody. What is that word? Okay, whatever the point is. Resentment. That's the word. Thank you. Gosh. I kind of formed a bit of resentment because I was like, I'm in this new city and I feel that I'm alone and I don't really have many friends here. I did have a friend, but like we had different schedules. And so like she traveled for work during the week, and sometimes I'm here for work for the week. And then the weekends, a lot of times either he was with me or I was there, or going home, like whatever it might be. So I really had to figure out like what I was going to do in this. like in this loneliness, in this feeling alone, like what am I gonna do? Because I'm gonna sit on the couch and be sad and cry. Like some nights I did do that. Yeah, I did do that. But at the same time, I didn't want that to be my entire life. I didn't want loneliness to overtake me to the point of not being able to enjoy the people around me or the space around me. And so I just really had to figure out like, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do? And so it really started with, I started this in college. I did solo dates. I continued that throughout, but I also figured out like how I can fill my time. And I think that's another thing too, because even feeling your time sometimes doesn't do it for you. But for me, filling the time with things that bring me joy and things that I typically don't even do with other people. I think that for me, it was the biggest change. It wasn't about, okay, I'm feeling lonely, so I'm just going to go on a walk. Like, but do I like going on a walk by myself, right? Is that going to bring me joy? Yes, I can do and like take my mind away from it. But when I come back from that walk, will my cup be full? And so I really had to figure out, okay, what's going to actually fill my cup? One for me is working out. And it was figuring out what type of workouts, because I found that I like more yoga, Pilates, and since I was on a budget, I definitely was doing it on YouTube, but that brought me joy. So by the time, if I was feeling lonely, okay, let's change clothes, let's pop on a YouTube video, and I'm doing that workout. And a lot of times for me, that would, okay, fill my cup a little bit. But then it got to the point of, okay, I'm working out in my house. Maybe I need to get out the house. And so that's when I started finding different trails I like to walk on or go run on. That's where that walking, well, I didn't actually walk. I used to be a runner. Well, I still kind of am, but that's when that kind of came about, where I decided that, on Saturdays, no matter kind of what it was, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go on that run, go on that walk, and then also absorb the scenery around me. So I started taking pictures of the cute things that I saw. So I remember one trail, like there was really pretty flowers. I remember another trail, they had it was kind of like graffiti, I guess that you could call it. But it was like graffiti that was set up in like an artistic way. So there was like a pipe and it looked like a shark. There's another pipe that looked like a giraffe. And so I started taking pictures of that. And I just started finding new trails. So when I was there, I was constantly just finding different trails I can go on and absorbing. Or if I went to the same one, I went different ways to observe new things around me. And so I started to realize seeing the beauty around me brought me internal joy. And then another way I found that was exploring. So I'm in a new city. I really don't have that many friends. Like I said, I had a friend, but I don't have that many friends. So I had to figure out, okay, how else can I get joy kind of outside the house? And so for me, that also was, like I said, enjoying just the beauty around me in general. So going downtown and just walking different parts of downtown, different parts of the city, finding those little cute small nooks of the city just really helped me figure out that I enjoy that, and seeing the beauty in things it just brings me so much joy. And even thinking about it brings me joy. And so I had to find what filled me up, not just filled my time, but felt and fueled my soul. And once that soul was full, that loneliness was where was the place for the loneliness then? There was no place. And so I think sometimes we can occupy our time or just kind of find things that don't fully fill us up. And so the loneliness is still there, right? So once I've started to fill my tank in those moments of loneliness, I truly think that's what made the difference. I think another part of this is figuring out where it's coming from. Where is that loneliness coming from? What's driving it? Notice patterns. So if it's like, I know for me, I'm good for every Friday night or every Saturday night when it gets cold. And that's when I'm like, oh, I want to be doing something. I want to do something. And for me, my loneliness comes from wanting to do. And I felt there was a lot of times where I can't do because I'm not with somebody. And so changing the narrative for me, that's what helps. But it could be for you. Maybe you don't want something, but you want somebody. Okay. And so if you want somebody, how can we meet that need? And I think I think it's also okay to know that it's okay if you need someone else to meet that need with you. So say if you're feeling lonely and you're is not I want to do something, but I want a somebody. What friends can you reach out to? Maybe get on FaceTime, maybe text them or something along those lines where you can have a somebody. If you're also wanting somebody, I saw this thing on TikTok. It was talking about how she goes to places by herself because she says that she's always going to find her plus one there. But I do think that can be difficult for some people, right? That requires you to put yourself out there. That requires you to fully engage in the space. Because I think we're in a space where we have a lot of phones. We have phones and things like that. And so you can go to a space and be by yourself, but I'm just going to sit there and scroll on my phone. Now you're not fully embracing the space around you to engage with other people. You're shutting yourself off to other people. But go to a bar. Like it's not like a bar. I'm saying like go to a restaurant that has a bar. Even if you don't drink, even if you don't want to drink, it's not about the drink, but it's about even having that bartender there, having that person that's next to you. Open up that stream of communication sometimes. Like, you could feel lonely and be like, hey, I like your shirt. It doesn't have to be a flirt. I'm not trying to teach you the flirting tips, but this is just ways to create that personal connection with someone and maybe opens it up for a conversation. If it's a game on, say like, oh, what team are you rooting for? Things like that, because sometimes we as people long for just that sense of connection with another person. And so if that's where your loneliness is coming from, how can you feed that, even if it's in an unconventional way? Even if it's not, okay, I'm just going to get with my friends and hang out with them. What if your friends are busy? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so figure out where it's coming from, figure out what drives it, and start to notice patterns. Like, take account of when that loneliness comes up. Like, start journaling it. And so you can kind of really keep account and figure out, okay, where is this coming from? And what patterns can I start to see? And I promise you there'll be some patterns. I can assure you there will be. Like I said, my patterns is most weekend nights. Weekend days, I really don't feel that, just because I like to get off work and be like, I'm by myself with Zeke by my side. He's knocked. But so that's kind of like all I need for the week. But those weekends when it's like, okay, I've had a week of not hanging out with a single person outside of work, which is nice. I like that during the week, but now it's the weekend. What do I want to do? So yeah. And so my tips for sitting with loneliness, one, like I said, like I've repeated to say, figure out where it's coming from, figure out what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, and figure out what fills your soul. Sit with it a little bit longer too, because I think in order to fully know and figure out what is needed to fill it, you have to sit with it and figure it out and examine it and process it and unpack it. So sit with it a little longer than you think you need to. Don't immediately just jump to go filling it up, because maybe it's not a somebody or a something. Maybe it's an internal. Maybe it's a need that you need to meet within yourself. And so sitting with it some more can help you examine it out. Like, okay, what needs can I give to myself? Am I hungry? Maybe I'm hungry. Maybe I'm sleepy. Maybe that's what I need to catch up on. Maybe I need to catch up on some sleep. I know something that me and my friend always used to talk about too is sometimes it's also about, I know, like I said, this is not about feeling your time, but if it is something that is like, okay, I just need to fill my time. Like, it just I need to do something. Okay, there's likely something that can be cleaned around your house. There's likely something that needs to get done. Asking yourself, did you spend time with God today? Because that's also a thing. Let's not forget about that. Because if you have not spent intentional time with God during that day and that loneliness comes up, maybe it's God telling you like, hey, I'm longing for that connection. For me on travel, that is something that got me good. And I think that this travel season taught me that even more. And I think allowed me to lean on God in that loneliness, and let that be an avenue for him to speak to you, because sometimes God wants to get you alone so you could hear his voice. You can't hear his voice if you out with your friends all the time. Sometimes he pulls you away, and he kind of isolates you to allow you to fully hear what he has to say. And so maybe it's that. maybe say a prayer. I think in that examining where it's coming from, what all those things, like even praying in that time, might allow you to see how it needs to feel. And if it's a long for God, if it's a long for people, if it's a long for things, if it's long to do, whatever that longing has come for, make sure that you're trying to meet it. And yeah, like, I just want us to be able to get to the point where that loneliness comes up and we're not scared of it. Sisu sense for this week is basically what I said. If loneliness comes up this week, or if the next time you feel lonely, let's make sure that we're sitting with it, that we're unpacking it, that we are feeling it, and then also making sure that we are addressing it in a healthy way, just to make sure that we are being our best self. And so you can take my advice or not. That is just my 2 cents. Thanks you guys so much for listening to my first solo video episode. I was kind of nervous. And also another kind of revelation that I was feeling today too was realizing that this episode will be my 11th episode, and I stopped my podcast last time at 11. And so I'm just rejoicing every single time that I'm choosing to be consistent, choosing to be fully bought in and fully chase my dreams and my passions. So thank you guys so much for listening. You guys don't understand how much your support means to me. And I honestly could tear up, but I won't right now. So thank you guys so much for listening, and go conquer your week. Oh, and follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram at the Honesty Circle with the _ at the end. Stay updated on Circle News. Like I said, thanks again for listening, and go conquer your week. Bye, y'all.